So I have a lot I want to talk about when it comes to Doom Eternal's latest update, mostly in regards to Ancient Gods Part 2, or Tag 2, whatever you want to call it. But I mostly want to focus on the issues with this update that affects all the speedruns, and most notably Tag 1. First, the most annoying thing ever, starting a new game. Whenever you start a new game, even if you have tutorials off, this pop-up appears explaining to the player to make the most use of your arsenal or whatever. This is so unnecessary. And to me, it's the single most defining change in the mindset for id as they put this update up. This feels like id doesn't trust their players enough to actually get good and learn how to play Doom Eternal at its highest level. Or at worst, they don't trust their own game design enough to teach the player how to utilize their arsenal, and thus they have to spell it out to you. And did I mention, this is every damn time you start a new file. Do they understand that speedrunners reset constantly? This just makes it so annoying to run on this patch. Anything. Because it's not just the DLCs, which I could understand because they're trying to explain it to people who don't have the base game, but even for base game, they just tell you how to play the game well, and it's so frustrating. I didn't think I'd ever find something that's more annoying than the Nova cutscene in base game, but they somehow found a way. Speaking of annoying changes that only affect speedrunners, they've not only ignored a change speedrunners have been requesting since version 1.2, but they've doubled down on it. Constantly, speedrunners have asked for a 10-second delay on load to checkpoint to be reverted. But now, instead of fixing that, they've given a 3-second delay on exiting the main menu, the fix we had to do to not lose time on current patches. And they've still given no explanation as to why this is a thing. If they would explain it to us, we'd probably be upset, but at least we might understand the necessity of this change. But they've never addressed or even acknowledged it, other than making it more frustrating after every update. So they're aware it's a thing if they're somehow making patches to make this more annoying, but they've never actually addressed it in any patch notes or to the players who have been requesting it to be reverted. Alright, so for the Tag 1 changes. When it comes to the nerfs to Tag 1, I think they take away from the experience, as most of the memorable fights are now gone. But when it comes to speedrunning, 100% runs are now technically faster because there are slightly less enemies to kill, and some are replaced with weaker variants. Good, right? This means we don't have to downpatch for Tag 1. Except no, because besides the fact that any percent was already patched out in a previous update, No Major Glitches now has several skips patched or removed. Here are all the skips that have been changed or patched out. You can no longer Ballista Boost or Meat Hook Jump to skip this orange barrier when exiting after picking up the blue keycard. You still, however, can pick up the blue keycard and not trigger any of the fights. So, you know, patch 1 skip, 2 more will take its place or something, right? On Blood Swamps, they've added an invisible wall when you backtrack after the first dog arena. They've changed how physics work when you dash into certain slope surfaces, so dashing into these rocks is much harder and not as fast as it was previously. They put another invisible wall above the old Spirit Baron fight. Finally in Holt, possibly due to the aforementioned changes to slope surfaces, you can no longer dash boost into a Ballista Boost to get up to the climbable wall to skip to the Tyrant Bridge. Instead, a Yeet Hook is necessary to get the necessary height. All of this, of course, makes for a slower run, and that's frustrating because I personally would have loved to run on current patch with the current cosmetics. But time and time again, it is found that they need to patch these skips despite a small minority of people actually using them, at the very least on a first playthrough. Afterwards, maybe people experiment with the game and find these things, and honestly, that is what happens, and most people think it's cool, but then they get patched, and that's just really frustrating. To me, the changes to Tag 1 affect both my casual enjoyment of the arenas and make it so speedrunning is both frustrating and not viable for current patch, at least for no major glitches. Honestly, I wish I had a better note to end on, but I don't. Speedrunning this game is great and I love it, but it gets more and more frustrating as time goes on, as it is said they listen to player feedback, and yet many suggestions listed in the campaign speedrunning document have gone unaddressed, let alone fixed. Whether or not they actively target speedrunners isn't the point. The point is that it feels like they do. And if they want to change that perception, the least they can do is extend an olive branch, as we've tried many times over the past year. I'm just going to go off script now. It's so frustrating, because this is my first speed game. I've been playing this basically since the game came out, and I started speedrunning maybe a month after it came out. So 11 months, almost a year of speedrunning this game. And it is the most fun I've ever had. And I've met a lot of cool people doing it. And all of these skips are really cool to do. They're really fun to do. And a lot of them take skill and practice. Like, to the point where most casual players wouldn't ever be able to do them. Or even want to do them. So for some reason, they keep patching these things out that don't really affect many people. And it's so frustrating to have what almost feels like all this hard work from a whole community being put together, and it's just getting thrown out the window. It's hard to overstate how upsetting this is to people, because a lot of people love this game and want to keep playing it, but it almost feels like we're being pushed down, and I wish that weren't the case. I want to love this game. I think this game has the potential to be better than it is in its current state. But I don't think how they're going about it right now is the way to do it. But that's just my thoughts, and a few other speedrunners' thoughts. So, technically we're a minority as well, but we are very passionate about this game, and I wish that showed somehow.